So I wanted to finish up with this one about all these. There's like 1,000 kids this law firm or lawyers representing that were all CP children and in children protective services, all talking about the same thing. It's a 3-day hearing, but then before I even got to this, one just came out on December 6th in Maine. Same thing, but in that case, and I'll show you in a minute. It's several infants that died, 6 months, one of them, that have died within weeks because of every state says it different. Like in Maine, it's DHHS, but it's Child Protective Services. In Illinois, it's DCFS, Department of Children. But it's the same thing. All of it coming out. It's so strange because these people are really able to cover their tracks because they're connected to the Fed. I mean, that's why Child Protective Services has been able to get away with everything. Look, they've always been bad. They're not broken. I really think people need to, that don't realize it's not just, they always put the same type person in. So if somebody comes under fire too much, then they'll get rid of the head of that one, CPS, and they'll bring in another one that get on the news, tell you we're going to do all this, we're going to reform, and so then you'll stop paying attention. You think, good, they finally got rid of that one. No, they just put in somebody just like that one. But we think that it's not a wicked system. So you need to start thinking along the lines that it's a religion for them. That's all I'll say. I'm just going to leave it there. Because nothing is this broken without deliberately being this broken in every state. Look, I didn't just know the system because of a couple kids. I worked in a hospital where every patient was a DCFS kid. We had adolescent unit, children's unit, girls unit, and we even had a young adult unit. Those were the really far gone kids who weren't kids. They once they reached 18, if they were really far gone, then the state could hang on to them. But the state's the one that messed them up to begin with. Like there kinds of stuff they would do. It was not like attention seeking or self-harm. It was just really bizarre, and you could just see that like I don't know. It's just really bad. Stuff that you wouldn't see with just a normal mental illness. Like something very bad happened. And I would hear the stories. So I was not just one or two kids I knew. No, they took care of these kids every day. I had one girl who had to go to the young adult unit because she had turned 18. And she lived with her mom. And she said her mom was a hoarder. She said her and her brother lived in squalor, but she wasn't abused. This girl was really smart, and she would get herself up and off to school in the morning, and she would try to take care of her brother. But they eventually found out the squalor was so bad and the filth, it started smelling in the neighborhood. And so DCFS took the kids out and separated them. And then the home they put the girl in. And she was the one that told me this, but I heard these stories all the time that were similar, just like this. That the man in the home, not her father, but the foster father, molested her. Yeah, and so they all pretty much say the same thing. I get worse. So they're not trying to help. This is you don't mess it up this bad. I mean, I had a police officer several years ago. She was retired, and she went to work to help transport kids for DCFS. And when she got to my hospital, I think she was bringing me the 6-year-old that I mentioned in my last video. And she's just like, I'm done. This is my last day. She was even like, here, look at the chart, because they don't let us see the chart. That's always been alarming to me, because you'd think as a mental health worker especially, it would be helpful if we knew their past traumas. We'll usually find out because they'll tell us. A kid will tell you if they trust you. But they close it because it's very simple. The Children and Family Services system doesn't want any healthcare worker to see that, because then you might think for yourself and realize, why is there so much trauma happening under this system that all the experts, the Lancet, they never told me about this? Because really, I mean, that's the whole reason nurses and doctors were trained that, well, if they don't have as many letters as this person does, then I've been taught not to listen to them. Or I've been taught as a nurse to only follow the Lancet or CDC or the head of my hospital. No, really critical thinking is hearing all different sides, even people that you think aren't as educated as you, and then coming to a rational thought process here. So DCFS, they're going to say it's broken. They all say the same. It's not. They deliberately are doing this. We need to get to the root of the problem. So with this one in Texas, I thought this was something people might want to know because it's regarding all the psychotropics foster kids are on. Most of these kids, okay, yeah, if they've been broken so bad, because some of the young adults, like I said, I saw it, but I think it's because of the system itself. However, these adolescents, these children do not need to be on psychotropics, but most, as this said, this week, much of the testimony focused on the administration of psychotropic drugs to foster children. The medication is intended to improve people's mood and behavior, but the plaintiff's lawyer have accused the state of failing to review whether children are being wrongly or overly prescribed those pills. Court-appointed monitors looked at case files for more than 150 foster children last year and found that almost half of them were taking 4 or more psychotropic drugs. There is no reason for that. Most of them are behavioral because they're being put in one trauma after another. Like, that's the reason it won't get fixed. If everybody thinks, oh, we just put them on this pill, put them on this. No, most of these kids don't need to be on all that shit. But it's a great science experiment, isn't it? Just saying. At one point, Juarez, this is one of the girls that, she's 18 now, she took herself off all the pills and she said she never felt good on them, but that her foster parents told her she had to take them. Yeah, usually because the guardian is the state, they'll make sure that whoever the foster family is, that you give them the meds. But there was a psychiatrist in here, and he said it best. This is what I've been trying to say. He said foster children often come into the system with traumatic experiences, and trauma can often manifest in those cases like a mental illness. It's exactly what it is. But everybody is like so afraid of these kids. No, they've suffered trauma and they've never learned any coping skills. So instead of people being afraid of them, staff, but that's how all the experts have made it seem in articles when they do write about this, is that all these kids are just lunatics and renegades. No, they have trauma that has never been being addressed because we have sick people running the people that are their guardians. Okay? They don't need to be on they don't need to be on any. So, yeah, and I was trying to see here how many kids this was for Texas. The state's witness was Dr. Ryan Van Romhorst, the chief medical director for Medicaid and CHIP services of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. He said Texas has made improvements in its administration of psychotropic drugs, roughly halving the percentage of children who were taking 4 or more. That's ridiculous. There's no reason for this. It's laziness. Okay? But the kids do act out. So sometimes you do have to medicate them, but there needs to be more therapy intervention. But again, what do these kids end up in? A psych facility or a group home where they'll get no therapy, none of their needs will get met because they set them up for failure. They set them up so that their future can be in jail, a statistic of death, or they just break them mentally along the way. And as you can see, December 6th, Maine, and that's their Department of Children and Family Services commissioner, questioned about child deaths. Worker complains, yes. This is one of the workers. She gave testimony. People know it's a high turnover rate. It is because people don't want to be working for demons that want to hurt children, and that's all you're left with. So people leave and they're just like, I can't wrap my head around it. Yeah, I was there once too. I know it all too well.